When life gets difficult, what's your first instinct? Do you look for someone to blame? Or do you ask yourself, what part of this can I control? Because there's a huge difference between looking for who or what to blame and taking responsibility for your own life. Hi, I'm Scarlett Classic, and welcome to Classic Advice, a mental health podcast offering guidance for resilient souls, anchoring calm amidst the chaos. You know, sometimes we can get into this habit of becoming the victim of situations, and then that just becomes our go-to because it's easier and more comfortable to play the victim, because then that means we don't have to take accountability. That means we don't have to, feel really bad because we made a huge mistake, and instead of taking on that and admitting that we have faults and admitting that we're lacking in certain areas and admitting that we're not, all that we have, things that we need to work on. And that all of those things make us human, but we can get into this rut of thinking and this rut of, I don't like using always and never, but, playing the victim more times than is healthy, because then we don't have to take on that responsibility. But life isn't fair. I remember my parents and, the older people saying that, well, life isn't fair. No, life isn't fair. Life isn't going to be fair. People will hurt us. Or jobs fall apart, or you get passed over for a promotion when you've been working so hard, and maybe you know that other person has cut corners, or whatever it may be. You feel like you're maybe quote unquote more deserving somehow of that role. And that is another topic for another day. Thinking that you deserve things can also really affect our mental health. Having that mindset that, well, I deserve that, so I should get that, when life isn't fair. Relationships end. My first marriage fell apart. Then I got divorced, and then I dated a few guys before I finally found my soulmate, Roy, the guy that I'm with now. Unexpected hardships happen. You get sick, or, I got really bad depression and anxiety and all of that. And some circumstances are so completely outside of our control that we then go into this thinking of, I am the victim. And yes, some things happen to us. I understand that. I'm not trying to negate any of that. But once those events happen, we do still get to decide and choose how we're going to respond to the things that happen to us. Remaining stuck in assigning blame instead of taking accountability keeps us focused on what we can't change, and keep us focused on, oh, woe is me, oh, poor me, there's nothing that I can do because I am the victim here. Instead of becoming our own hero and choosing how we're going to respond to the things that happen to us that we do have no control over. Maybe we get, a health diagnosis that we don't, I don't choose to lose my hearing, or I don't choose to, need to wear glasses. Some things happen to us. But taking accountability shifts our attention towards what we can do next. So, okay, I lost some hearing. Well, what can I do? Well, I can purchase new hearing aids, save up the money, get the new hearing aids, and they get all calibrated and everything, and then I can hear again. So what if I need, little devices to be able to hear? Is it an inconvenience? Would I rather not have lost my hearing at all? Sure. But there are perks to being hard of hearing. When there's noises going around that I don't want to hear, I just turn them off. And voila, I don't hear them anymore. Taking ownership isn't meant to be a form of, self-punishment. I don't mean when I say take responsibility, I don't mean, go over and over in your head about, oh, well, I made that mistake and I should do better and I should have known better and I should have not said that, or I should have said this different, or, it's not saying I'm a failure and beating yourself up. It's saying, okay, I made a mistake. What can I learn from it? Or this thing happened to me. What can I learn from it? What can I do about it? Shifting to that logical frame of mind, taking emotion out of it, which I get is very hard. Sit in your emotions when you need to. I'm not telling you to ignore those, because that's the last thing I would say. But once the wave has passed and we're calm again, and we can look at things in a logical frame of mind. If your friend was going through this situation, what would you tell them? What kind of advice would you give them? I have done this for myself a lot, actually. Well, I wouldn't say a lot. I've done it. I'm practicing and doing it more so now than I think I have done in the past. So it feels like I'm doing it, a lot. But I let the emotion wave pass. And then I tell myself, okay, if, my friend was going through this, what would I tell them? And that can kind of distance myself a little bit from it and be like, okay, well, what could she do, or what kind of options are there? Because there's two very, very different ways of looking at these, and one will help you grow and one will keep you stuck. Mistakes, or bad things that happen to us don't need and shouldn't define our self-worth. Just because I'm hard of hearing doesn't make me any less. These things or mistakes, that I make doesn't make me any less worthy, or I shouldn't let it hit my self-esteem hard, because it's an opportunity for me to grow. It provides this opportunity for growth. If I never made mistakes, if you never made mistakes, then what would we learn? We learn really well from our mistakes. And I think, I could be wrong, but I think it could be due to the fact that when we make mistakes, we kind of tie it to emotion. And we maybe overthink it, or we obsess over it, like, oh, I made that mistake, I really should not have done that. And then we really are mindful of the fact that we don't do that again. Like, have you ever backed into something with your vehicle and caused damage, and then you're so particular about looking in your mirrors and checking behind your vehicle and making sure you do that walk around, that you don't have a flat tire, and then take off with it and wreck your rim or whatever it may be. When you do those kinds of mistakes, when I do those kinds of mistakes, it makes me so hyper aware to not have that mistake repeated again. So it creates this opportunity for growth, but this growth requires honesty with ourselves in not playing the victim and not trying to assign the blame to somewhere that we shouldn't. It's just being in denial almost if we want to just blame it on something. Oh, well, if you say you back into this bucket or something and be like, well, that bucket shouldn't have been there, or why did someone leave the lawnmower there? It shouldn't have been there, then I wouldn't have hit it. You see where I'm getting? Instead of owning it and be like, oh, well, I should have looked behind my vehicle, or I should have checked my mirrors better, or I was in a rush, or maybe I stayed up late than I should have and I was tired and I didn't check the mirrors. We make these mistakes, but if we always look to blame other people or our circumstances or bad luck, then we never really examine our habits or our choices or our beliefs that we actually have the power to take charge and make some change. Because this growth begins with an honest, look at ourselves, not in shame. Not guilt, and not just being honest with yourself. Well, I shouldn't have stayed up so late. Well, I should have walked around my vehicle to make sure that my, kid didn't leave a bike out or whatever it was. This gives us so much more control back into our lives because we stop waiting for someone else to come rescue us, because poor us, we're the victim. We need some knight in shining armor to come rescue us. We become our own hero. We stop searching for someone else to blame. We stop waiting for that night to come. And we don some armor and we say, what can I do about this today? If you're sitting up on your horse, you pick up your reins. Instead of just letting the horse wander all over the place, you pick up the reins and be like, okay, we're going to go over here today. And this is the work we're going to do. Because we don't have a lot of control over a lot of different areas in our life, but we always have control over how we choose to respond to situations. And we can influence what will happen next. And the confidence and self-belief, self-worth, self-esteem, all of those things will rise. Because we take on this challenge when we probably don't feel ready for any of it. That doesn't mean that you're not scared. Or it doesn't mean that you don't feel sad anymore. I'm sad about my hearing. Yeah, I lost more hearing. Now I have to go get my new hearing aids. They cost money. I wish I didn't have to have them at all. But I'm making the best out of the situation. It is what it is. I can't change the fact that I've lost hearing, but I can change how I respond to it. So what are you focusing on? Or are you focusing more on what you can't control or what you can? And is there a situation that maybe you've been pushing blame onto other people or circumstances instead of looking at your own role that you can play? And when you own your mistakes, what can you learn from it? What's one action that you can take today that moves you forward instead of keeping you stuck? You don't need to carry the weight of the world with all this newfound accountability, but just recognize that you do have some control, where in some cases it feels like you have absolutely none. And your emotions are high and you feel like you've lost all of control. You can still choose how you respond, and no one can take that away from you. Every time we choose ownership over blame, we build resilience and confidence and self-respect, self-esteem and self-worth. And you stop being a passenger in your own life, and you become the one at the wheel or on the back of the horse and picking up the reins. Because we can't always choose what happens to us, but we always can choose how we respond. That's where our power lives. Thank you for tuning in to Classic Advice, guidance for resilient souls. May you stay anchored in what steadies you, rise resilient through what challenges you, and carry calm into whatever comes next. Take care. Love ya.